Hello, this video will review how to create a PDF using Adobe. Specifically, we'll look at changing the settings so that Adobe is your default PDF reader. Then we'll look at how to create a digital signature and sign a PDF. And then lastly, we'll look more into how to create a fillable PDF. Sometimes Microsoft Edge is set to be the default browser to open up PDFs. This can be difficult when you're trying to fill them out, sign them, or edit them. So if it's opened up in this view, this is letting you know that it is opening up in Edge, but you can change that. You can usually detect that it is opening up in a browser if it has a URL that looks similar to a web page. To change the default setting to open in Adobe, you would just want to find a PDF on your computer. Any one will do. And then you want to right click on it and open with. Then we're going to choose another app. And notice here it is showing that it is indeed opening up in Microsoft Edge as the default, which is not something that we want. So we're going to choose to open up in Adobe Acrobat DC. Now, Adobe Acrobat DC is the one where you can actually edit PDFs. So if you're going to be actually creating PDFs, making them fillable forms and whatnot, that's probably the preferred one. Some people may not have that one. If you're only going to be reading and viewing PDFs, then you'll have the Adobe Acrobat Reader. Since I'm going to be creating PDFs though later on in this video, I'm just going to choose the regular Adobe Acrobat DC, but notice that you can actually choose either one just to be able to read and view the PDF. So I'll choose this, and then I want to make sure to click this little button to always use this app to open my PDF files. That will change it to being the default. So now you see that it actually changed the icon a little bit and turned it into the Adobe icon, and then now it opened up my PDF as an Adobe Acrobat Pro DC, and you can see this looks a little bit more perhaps what you're used to, which is opening it in Adobe now. Now let's move on to creating a digital signature and signing a PDF form. So let's say that we have a form open on our computer and we notice that it needs a signature. So we need to create a digital signature to sign here. So we'll select in this box and it will actually start the prompt to create a digital signature. Now let's say I already have two created on this computer. It would be easy enough just to pick the one I want to sign with and continue on. But let's pretend in this case that I don't have these, or maybe I want to create a different one. I would choose Configure New Digital ID, create a new digital ID, and then save to Windows Certificate Store. Then it's going to ask me to fill out this information. I would need to fill out this information as I would want it to appear on the digital signature, specifically your name. Then we'll go ahead and save that. And now we see that we have this new one available for us to sign with. So I'll choose Continue from there. And now we can see that this is what the digital signature will look like when it is embedded into the document. It'll have my name and it'll have the date in which I signed it. Now I can make some changes here. First of all, I can lock the document after signing so that after I sign it, no one else can edit the document or do really anything with it. Just keep in mind that you want to do this if you're the last person to sign it and there aren't any other edits or other signatures that will be needed. In most cases, this is what you're going to need, so you would just press sign and it would appear right here in the box. Notice that you can do a couple of extra things. If you choose create here, specifically under draw, you can actually draw out your signature to make it look like an actual signature and apply that instead. So here, instead of having the typed name, you would have a signature field. In this case though, I like it as the text, so I'll just choose that one. Notice down here at the bottom you can include additional things to be included in the text, but for the most part you're just going to need your name and your date. Then I'll go ahead and save that in, and again we can see how it will appear, and then we'll sign. Now it's going to ask me to resave the document with my signature on it. So often I like to just leave it the main line and this just add signed to the end of it so that I know that this is the one that has been signed. We'll save that, and then now our digital signature will appear here. Keep in mind that this digital signature is specific to the computer, so if you were to go in through another computer and try to make a digital signature, you may see that the one that you've created isn't there and it might prompt you to create another one, and that's okay. The trick here is just to remember to make sure to resave your PDF with the signature on it as something separate, so that if you do ever need to go back to a non-digital, the PDF without the digital signature, you have the ability to do so. Now let's work on creating a fillable PDF. So I've started out with just a regular Word document, and I have some different things that I'm going to add in that will make it interactive. So I'll have a box where they type their name, I'll have an area where they select the date, I'll have a drop down menu where they select their major, I'll have some areas where they type in or do some check boxes, I'll have an area where they sign, as well as an area where they fill out and complete and type in a paragraph. So this includes a lot of different interactives that they would be using in a PDF. More than likely, you probably don't have all those features in your PDF, but these are just kind of a variety of options. So to begin with, I just want to save this as a Word document, and I have several options of turning this into a PDF to get to the area where I will be working on filling it in and adding in those boxes. So the first thing is, right within Word, I can actually come here and do File, Save as Adobe PDF, and go ahead and save it as an Adobe PDF if I want to. Now at that point, it's not going to be fillable, it's just going to be a straight PDF, but I will go ahead and do that. So if you notice now, we do have it as a PDF, but there's not anything, you can't really click on it or interact with it very much. So now we're going to go ahead and turn this in and work on adding in those fillable boxes. So to do that, since my PDF is already open in Adobe Acrobat Pro, which is what I need to be able to edit my PDF, I can come over here to the side and I can choose to prepare the form. Another way to get to this is if you go to Tools up here at the top, you see you have lots of options to do different things with your PDF. In this case, though, we're going to be preparing the form, which is turning it into a fillable PDF. Another way to do this is on your desktop to actually open Adobe Acrobat, and then I can go to Tools here, I can choose Prepare Form, and then select my file from my computer. And in this case, I already turned it into a PDF. You could just choose the Word document and it will turn it into a PDF and then allow you to do your edits. Okay, so now that we are in the Prepare Form area, and remember we're actually in Adobe Acrobat Pro. Remember, you don't want to be in Reader, you want to actually be in Pro. You will have to be signed into your account, so if you haven't already, make sure that you choose to sign in. Make sure to choose your work account and log in with your single sign-on information, your Gordon email username and password. So notice here on the side that we are in the Prepare Form, and notice that it tried to fill in some of the main boxes. PDFs are good about grabbing boxes that they think might be fillable and going ahead and filling those in for you. So that can be really helpful. This PDF automatically did it for you, but it is really important if you are creating these boxes yourself. If you notice here on the side that, for example, this first one is pass fail, and this one is pass _2 pass fail _2. And if you look over here on the field side, you can see that there aren't any duplicates in the exact same name. They change it to _2 _3, and that's very important because you want each field to have a unique name. If not, when I'm filling out the PDF, if I click pass here and this one is named pass as well, the exact same name, it will also auto check that one. So you don't want that to happen. So you do want to make sure that every field has a unique name. And when it fills it out itself, when it tries to help you out and make these boxes yourself, it actually kind of does that. Okay, so let's add in a couple of more and make some corrections here. So by default, it actually put one here, and I don't really want one here. So I can actually come and just click on that and delete that out. And if I want to add in, because I want to add in a box here where they can type in what the course is. So to do that, I can just come here to the top and choose to add a text field, and then I would just kind of put it over where it needs to go. You can shrink it up and make it a different size. That's probably the most difficult part of creating a PDF, is making sure that your text boxes are the right size for your tables. I definitely encourage you to double space your tables to make it a little bit easier. So we have text box 1 here. By default, that's what it's named, but I want to rename it. So I'm going to right click and do properties, and it will actually let me rename it to something more appropriate like course 1, or whatever I would like to name it there. So again, you definitely might be tempted to say, well, I finally got that one the right size, so I'm just going to copy and paste him, and then I'll just move him to the next one. And that is fine to do to keep your blocks the same size, but it is super important that you right click this and do properties and rename it to something else, because again, you don't want these having the same name. But that does help with putting in your boxes. Okay, so we have very quickly and pretty easily added in our boxes. Now what if here, instead of having a date box where they actually type in the date, I'm going to delete that off, and I want to add in a date picker here, which is actually this icon here, add a date field. So I'll drag him and put him on this, and I'll shrink him up, and I can over here on the side choose to rename him if I don't want him to be named that. So I can just click on that and I can say date of form or whatnot. And notice down here I can see just by looking at the icons what type of text box I have. So most of these are just you're going to type in text boxes, but notice this date form has a little date icon which lets you know that it's a date picker. So here under the pass fail, they've added in a box I don't want, so I'll delete him out. And then here they've added in typed boxes, and I don't really want that. I want more of check boxes. So I can just click on these and delete these out. Again, that was just Adobe trying to help me out. And now I want to add in little check boxes for this. So I'll just choose the check box here, and I'll place it where it needs to go. Again, one of the most difficult things is getting it the right size. And then you want to make sure to name it appropriately. So I can just right click on it and rename it, and I might name it Pass Box 1. And keep in mind that all of these have to have different names. So you can come here and do copy and paste and move it where it needs to go so that they all are the same size. But you do want to make sure to right click on it, properties, and then rename it to something slightly different. I'm going to do the same thing with the fail boxes. I just copied over a pass box, but I can just click on it, rename it, and then name it fail box 1. So again, the trick is it's fine to copy them over, you just have to make sure they have a unique name. So now I want to add in a couple of more checkboxes here because I'm going to have them check all that apply here. So I just click on the checkbox. It'll give me a little box and I just put it here, and then again I just want to make sure to name it. Now let's add in a drop down box because in this one I want them to select their major. So up here at the top, notice that these two are a little bit different. If you hover over them, it'll give a description. This first one actually allows for multiple selections, and the second one does not. So in this case, I want them to just select one major. So I'm going to just choose the second one, select it, and then make the box here. And again, I can make it whatever size I want it to be. And then I'm going to right click on it and change the properties. So I would name this something like select your major, which is the same thing as the title here. And then I want to add in the options that they can choose. So under that, I'm going to choose options, and then I can start to add in my possible items. So if I just say general studies, I can add that one in as a possible option. I might add in education. I might add in human services, and I might add in business. This is just, for example. Also notice down here at the bottom you can choose to allow the user to enter custom text. So maybe I didn't add all the possible majors and they want to have just a, you can type in your own box if you want to be one of these, something else other than these majors. Also down here is just a tip that whatever you want the default to be selected on, you can choose it. So if default I want it to be general studies, I can choose that, and that's what's going to be the default selection, and then they can change from there. All right, so I'll close that one out. And then scrolling down, I have another one where maybe in this case I want them to be able to select more than one. So in that case, I'm going to choose this first option and make a box here and make it whatever size you like. Right click on it, go to properties, give it a different name. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go under options, and then we're going to start putting in options for things that they can select. So I might type in the item, choose add, and then continue on from there. So from here, you can see that I've added in several things. What you can also do is maybe put something that says, I am interested in all, and add that one in. And you can actually select that one to be, if you have that one selected when you save it, that's going to be the default choice. But keep in mind that you can select here to let them select multiple options here. You can also rearrange it. If you click on this one, you can move it up if you want to, if maybe they've gotten out of order here. So we'll close that one. And then now we want to add in a paragraph box where they're just going to type in the form. And so you see this a lot in forms where the student has to provide an explanation for something or provide a essay for some type of application. So that's what that's what we're going to add here. So we're going to come up here and we're going to choose a text box, just like we did before. We're going to add a text box, and we're going to make it whatever size we like. And then we can do the same thing, properties, and maybe we name it essay. And something that might be very helpful when you're creating these essay boxes is under the appearance, change the font size to auto so that it will auto fit the box. And then under options, make sure that you check multi-line. And what that means is once it reaches the end of the text box, it will wrap to the next line the way that Word does when you're typing. Then we'll close that one. Then we'll move to our last thing here, which is our digital signature. So we'll just come up here to the top and we'll choose add a digital signature. Select it here. It doesn't require a lot of space, but you can make it bigger or smaller if you want to. And then just like before, right click and rename it. I'll just name it Final Signature. All right, so we are pretty much done editing our checklist or our PDF that we would like, and now we're just going to go ahead and save it. You can save it over top of what you already have, or you might choose to save it as something else. I would maybe name it something like, fillable or whatnot, or rename it something else so that you can always return to your non-fillable PDF if you want to. All right, so let's check it out as a student or someone else filling out the PDF would. So we'll open up the PDF and notice we have our boxes in place to use. So we'll just put in our name like we did earlier. Now we have our date select box. So in this case, the person just selects the date. We have our drop down menu with general studies, the default, but I can change it. And then we have our courses to fill out. And so I can type those in as we set it up. I also have the ability to type in here. Just like we did before, we have the ability to select our boxes like we did before. We have the ability to select whatever we would like here. With this one, we can select all that apply. So by default, it is selecting I'm interested in all was the default. But to select more than one, the person would just select one of them and then choose Shift on their keyboard, and it would let them select all that are below it. Or if they want to jump around, they can click one and choose the control feature on their keyboard, and then it will let them select just specific ones if they want to. Now we have our paragraph. So I'm not actually going to type a paragraph, I'm just going to type letters, but you see it will wrap and move, to look like a typed paragraph here. Then lastly, we have our digital signature. So just like we showed a little bit earlier, the person would click on that. It would prompt them to either pick a digital signature that they already have in place or to create a digital signature. So they could configure a new digital ID, create a new one, save it, and then fill out their information here. Choose to save that, and then just pick it, continue on, sign that, and then it's going to ask them to save it. And of course they would just save it as maybe their name, because this is going to be something that they're going to send in to someone, so they will have to save it with their unique information filled in. So once they save it, it will populate their digital signature, and at that point we have filled out our form. So as the student or the completer of the form, I would just make sure to save it and give it a new name, and then now I'm ready to submit that to whomever needs it. So that is how to create a fillable PDF with a variety of different filling options.